Okay, picture this. A tech startup just invented the world's very first nuclear-powered hover couch, right? It's highly experimental, it's incredibly volatile, and they want to sell millions of shares of this company to the public in an IPO. So how do you actually pull a massive stunt like that off? Well, you need a crew. Today's explainer is all about how that crew, which we call the Underwriting Syndicate, is formed, exactly how they operate, and most importantly for your Series 7 exam, who ends up taking the heat when things inevitably go wrong. But hey, before we assemble our heist team, a super quick shout out to our sponsor. This explainer is brought to you by CertFuel. They've got an amazing complete Series 7 course loaded with adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams that are weighted exactly like the real thing. It's totally built to actually make this stuff stick. So definitely check them out at certfuel.com. Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. Meet the Underwriting Syndicate, or as I like to call it, forming the crew. So we call this crew a syndicate, and the absolutely crucial word to focus on here is temporary. This is not some lifelong till death do us part business partnership. No, a syndicate is a temporary alliance of underwriters specifically formed to distribute a new issue, and they disband as soon as the job is done. Typically, they just break up after about 30 days or whenever all the securities are finally sold. Basically, you get in, you distribute the shares, and you get out. Now, as you can probably imagine, launching an IPO can be completely chaotic. If the price of our hover couch stock starts tanking immediately on day one, it looks terrible for everybody. So the crew needs to stabilize the offering price to ensure an orderly distribution. But here is a critical, highly testable detail. The stabilizing bid is organized only by the lead underwriter. Sure, syndicate members might chip in or participate, but only the boss, the lead underwriter, actually manages and places that stabilizing bid.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Syndicate Roles and Risks. Who actually takes the heat?
Let's officially meet our crew. First up, we have Larry, the lead underwriter. Larry's the boss. He conducts the due diligence, he forms the syndicate, manages the book building, and as we literally just saw, he's the only one stabilizing the price. Then we have Sam, the syndicate member. Sam is the guy who commits his firm's capital and actually shares the underwriting risk. And finally, we have Riley, the rep. Riley is just a selling group member. He simply tries to sell shares to the public on a best efforts basis. And this setup brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between Sam and Riley. This is where you really need to focus. Sam, the syndicate member, commits his firm's capital, right? He is underwriting the actual risk. If the hover couch issue tanks and absolutely nobody buys them, Sam's living room is going to be packed to the ceiling with glowing, unsold radioactive couches. Riley, the rep, however, he is in the selling group only. He assumes absolutely zero risk. If the couches don't sell, Riley literally just shrugs and walks away clean. All right, I want you to literally pause the explainer right now. Take a look at this. If the hover couch issue completely tanks, does Riley the rep lose his capital? I want you to really think about who actually holds the risk here. Okay, got your answer? Boom! The answer is absolutely no. Guys, this is a massive, glowing, neon exam trap. The test is going to try to trick you into thinking everyone in the syndicate pipeline shares the pain. They don't. Selling group members never assume underwriting risk. Only Larry and Sam have their capital on the line. Riley just sells. Okay, Section 3. Slicing the underwriting spread. It's time to divide the loot. So the crucial point here is understanding what the loot actually is. The underwriting spread, which is also called the gross spread, is simply the difference between the public offering price and the price they pay to the issuer. Think of it as the total amount of money left sitting on the table, just waiting to be sliced up among our crew. And here is exactly how that pie gets sliced. It has 3 components. First, the management fee, which goes straight to Larry the lead, and that's about 20%. Second, the underwriting fee, which you'll also see called the additional takedown, goes to Sam and the rest of the syndicate members. That's another 20%. And finally, the selling concession. This goes to the broker-dealers who actually physically sell the shares, like Riley. And check out that slice. It is roughly 60% of the total spread. Which brings us to another huge exam trap. Students always assume the boss makes the most money per share. Wrong. The biggest single component of the spread is the selling concession. That massive 60% chunk goes to whoever physically convinces a customer to buy the radioactive couch.
Now you might be wondering, what if Sam the syndicate member actually sells a share himself? Well, he gets two pieces of the pie. Step 1, he gets the underwriting fee just for taking on the risk, hazard pay basically. Step 2, he gets the selling concession because he actually made the sale. When you add those two together, underwriting fee plus selling concession, you get what the exam calls the total takedown. That is the maximum amount a syndicate member can earn per share that they sell themselves.
Occasionally, though, the crew has a really hard time moving inventory, so they have to bring in an outsider. This is where the reallowance comes in. It's a tiny discount, basically a small cut taken directly out of the selling concession that is tossed to a non-syndicate dealer who helps them find buyers. It's essentially just a finder's fee for helping them move the radioactive furniture. Let's lock in the logic here, because understanding why this works is exactly how you beat the test. The underwriting fee is earned on a syndicate member's entire allocation, whether they sell the shares or not. It's their hazard pay for committing capital and taking on risk. But the selling concession, that follows the broker-dealer who actually sells the shares. So if Sam just sits on his hands and Riley sells Sam's whole allocation for him, Sam still gets his 20% underwriting fee for sweating the risk, but Riley takes that juicy 60% selling concession. Section 4, the corporate financing rule. Keeping the regulators happy. Enter the corporate financing rule. FINRA requires that underwriting compensation be fair and reasonable. And get this, they aren't just looking at the cash spread. Nope. FINRA counts literally all items of value received by the underwriters and related persons in connection with the offering. So if Larry the lead gets a free hover couch as a bonus, you better believe FINRA is counting that toward his total compensation. 3, look at that number. Burn it into your brain right now. FINRA requires that the underwriting terms and arrangements be filed with them within exactly 3 business days of filing with the SEC. Not 5, not 10, exactly 3 business days. FINRA has to review that filing before the offering even commences. Section 5, the rapid fire exam recap. Let's do the debrief. Okay, rapid fire, here we go. Number 1, Sam, the syndicate member, commits capital and shares the risk. Riley and the selling group absolutely does not. Number 2, the selling concession is the largest component of the spread, not the management fee. Number 3, your total takedown formula is the underwriting fee plus the selling concession. And number 4, you must file those compensation terms with FINRA within 3 business days of the SEC filing. So here is my final provocative question for you. If you saw a question right now asking who loses money when an IPO fails, or what the biggest piece of the spread is, could you immediately spot the exam trap? If you're hesitating even a little bit, head over to certfuel.com, fire up those adaptive quizzes, and drill these concepts until they are totally second nature. You've got this. Happy studying.